Hey, what's going on? Peace. Peace, everyone. Peace and power elevation be to all you beautiful folks out there. This your girl Tiffany coming through here live in effect. So before I get started, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, share the channel. All right, today's topic. I have a question. So yesterday was Martin Luther King's birthday, Monday, January the 15th. All right. And about a week ago, Sekou Odinga passed away. Now, I'm asking this question because I just want to know. It's real easy, especially those who are supposed to be in the Black Power movement. They quit to criticize Dr. Martin Luther King because of his methodology, right? They There's people that's quick to throw him under the bus. Then there's people that praise the Black Panther Party, Black Liberation Army, and not many people know about Soko Odinga. All right, but for those who make the criticism, right, about what Dr. Martin Luther King was doing during the time of civil rights movement, could you have done what he did, or could you have done better? Again, could you have done what he did, or could you have done better? What could you have done? What could you done with exactly what Dr. King did in that time period? Would you have the guts to stand before an audience of people that actually represented white supremacy when there was a time of Jim Crow? Could you go before those people and make those speeches? Could you even do the marches? This man that led the march on Alabama, right? Selma, Alabama, okay, for workers' rights. He done led the poor people campaign. He done led the boycott in Montgomery. He done been to Chicago. This man done been to Chicago. When after Chicago had a riot, the March on Washington. This man was literally putting his life at risk. Not to mention, he done got stabbed before he was assassinated. Well, people don't remember that Dr. King was stabbed. And he got stabbed by a woman. He was at some type of meeting, or he had did some type of conference or something. And the woman approached him and she stabbed him. He almost lost his life then. Multiple attempt assassination on his life. This man's house was burned down. His house was bombed. Then he ended up losing his life in Memphis at the Lorraine Motel. Could you have taken your life and put your life on the front line like Dr. King and the people that was marching with him? The people that done took water hose, getting sprayed at them, having dogs sick on them, getting beat up with sticks, getting beat up at the doggone cafe, at the diner table, waiting for their order, getting called nigger, but at that time was nigger, being called nigger so many times, getting spit at, being told that you cannot go to a neighborhood or an area that is considered as sundown. And let's not forget what happened to Emmett Till. When Emmett Till lost his life, Dr. King came to Mississippi with Emmett Till's mother and had to view that boy's body. Could you have done exactly what Dr. King did? That man was not a celebrity, by the way. He was not a millionaire. He did come from a middle class family. He came from a middle class family. His parents were into church. His dad was a reverend. His mother played an instrument at the church. So he did come from a religious family. He was able to go to Morehouse College at the age of 15. But besides that, Dr. King was no celebrity. He was no celebrity at all. This man was not wealthy. He didn't start gaining recognition until that boycott that took place in Alabama, until that story about Emmett Till. But could you put your life on the line the way that Dr. King did for those who criticize him and say, oh, he- Dr. King was a sellout. Dr. King didn't do this. Dr. King didn't do this right. Well, could you do exactly what he did? Could you have done it better? What about what Soku Odinga? Soku Odinga was in the Black Liberation Army. He was in the Black Liberation Army. And now the Black Liberation Army was on a whole nother level. These people was taking major risks. They was the reason why that Asada Shakur was able to go to Cuba. They was the main reason why she was able to go to Cuba because they broke her out of prison. And by the way, she was locked up in a male's prison, not a female prison. She was locked up in a prison with all men. They broke her out of the prison and they sent her to Cuba. And she been there ever since. That was the Liberation Army. That brother risked his life just like the rest of them. And he ended up doing 30 years for. Now let's go back and let's look at what he was locked up for. All right, so watch this. It says Soku Odinga remained underground, partaking in revolutionary clandestine activity for 12 years until his capture. Upon being captured in 1981, he was charged with 6 counts of attempted murder, 9 predicated acts of racketeering influence, corrupted organization, stemming from his involvement in the escape of Asad Shakur from prison and the Brinks armored car robbery. He was convicted in 1984 and sentenced to consecutive 25 years to life state sentence and 40-year federal sentence. Burns' conviction were affirmed by the United States Court of Appeal for the Second Circuit in March of 1985. Odinga was released from prison November of November 25th of 2014. So this man, he did approximately 33 years in prison as a political activist. There's a lot of political prisoners out there. Mumil, Mumil Abu Jamal. Mumil Abu Jamal is still locked up right now, and he's dealing with serious health conditions. That man been locked up since around the same time as this brother has. But could you have gone through exactly the same thing that Soko Odinga did? Was able to take a sister out of the men's prison and bring her or send her off to another country where she can be safe and secure. Many of y'all would not do that. I'm just gonna keep it real. Many of y'all would not even put yourselves at that risk. Hell, many of y'all would not even go and put money on your baby mama if she was locked up. For anything, all y'all gonna do is say write a letter and send money to the commissary. If you gonna do that, or you might get a free so and so, free so and so. That's it. But you could never put yourself in that situation to break somebody out of prison so they can go live in another country and be free and be safe. A lot of y'all couldn't even do that. A lot of y'all could not even lead a march and be willing freedom or for whatever the rights is. A lot of y'all wouldn't be able to do that unless money was involved, unless money was on the table. And that's sad. If money ain't on the table, a lot of y'all wouldn't do it. And a lot of these organizations in this current time period, they not sacrificing themselves the way that our people did back in the 50s and 60s. Because nowadays they looking for profit. They looking for the 5013. They call themselves nonprofit. So they can just bank up and get a $1 million mansion somewhere in Beverly Hills and not contribute some of the money back into the black community or to the victim's family who was attacked by the police or been done wrong on any type of injustice level. These people wouldn't even give a dime to those victim families. And I give you a prime example: Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. Black. Oh, can't you hear me? Hold on. Hold on, y'all. They say my sound going in and out. Let me see. Can you hear me now? Because I got my earbuds in, so hold on. Hold up one moment. Okay, so I hope y'all can hear me now. But as I was saying, yeah, these organizations, right? They leverage off of the victim families, right? Okay. They leverage off the victim's family, and those families don't receive a dime back. The black community don't even get a dime off of them. But yeah, and still, these people living in mansions, they got multi-million dollars. You know what I'm saying? They taking care of their own family and not giving a damn about yours. But again, these people would not do what Dr. King have done or Sekou Odinga because our generation don't have that type of balls to do so. And then what makes matter worse, we got people in our own black community that tells people that
We didn't fight against racism. Our people did not fight against racism. They were fighting against patriarchy. Our people, and this person identified as a feminist. So I'm gonna call a name out. You got people like Priscilla Clark. Priscilla Clark telling women that our people did not fight against racism. The fight was against patriarchy, not racism. But at the same time, this woman praised white women and say, well, you see, white women, see, they fought against the power structure. But you, black woman, your ass was fighting with the nigga male for black power. So you got a woman who ain't been around long enough telling you that your people didn't fight against racism. And she identified as a feminist. Now, this is funny because the feminist that is no longer here, and some that are still here, they will be on her tail like it ain't nothing. Because the black feminists, they even know about racism. They spoke out on racism. We talking about people like Bell Hooks. Bell Hooks spoke on racism. And if she would have heard somebody like her say, well, your people didn't fight against racism, she'll be like, what? Are you serious? Toni Morrison, the late Toni Morrison, who was another feminist, but she was known for her controversial book, which was called Beloved. And that book dealt into the deep part of racism, which is why it was banned, because it was considered to be too radical. Look it up. Now, if she would have sat here and told people like Bell Hooks and Toni Morrison that they weren't fighting against racism or they didn't deal with racism, she would have got chewed up. And she would have told that to Afeni Shakur, the late Afeni Shakur, Tupac's mother. She would have got chewed up. Now, what people don't know is that Gaddafi and Tupac were cousins. All right. And Gaddafi was the son of Sekou Odinga. Yeah, Gaddafi was the son of Sekou Odinga. So Sekou was his father. All right. But the question is for all those critics out there that say, well, Dr. King didn't do this right. Dr. King was a sellout. Dr. King integrated. We may not agree with the integration part, but what else was he supposed to do? I mean, you gotta look at it. Black people didn't have a lot of resources at that time. We was losing a lot of resources. Neighborhoods were being burnt down because of people falsely accusing black men of rape. Or because the white power structure felt like the blacks was going against them and taking over their clientele. So what else was Dr. King supposed to do? I mean, this is what we have to look at. A situation. You can't really keep your own businesses around. You don't have enough money coming into your community. You deal with the redlining issue. So what else can't you do when your back is against the wall? What else you gonna do? You going to fight to be a part of a society, right? Because you are already living in it. So you're gonna fight your way through it, right? You're gonna fight your way in. So he felt that, well, we're gonna have to integrate in order to get the resources that we need, in order to make sure we take care of our family, in order to have jobs. We're gonna have to integrate. And he thought that was a good idea. He thought that was the best idea, but he wasn't the first one talking about integration. Hell, W.E.B. Du Bois spoke on integration during that time period. I mean, way before Dr. King spoke on it. And that's why him and Booker T. Washington was going back and forth with each other. They was bumping heads because Booker T said, hey, we need to do for self. We need to take care of ourselves. We don't need to be trying to force ourselves over there with those people. And Du Bois said, nah, we need to be integrated. We need to get into voting. We need to do this. We need to do that. Let me say, Lions time, baby. Yeah, but guess what happened? A lot of businesses was closing down. Yeah, people had jobs and people lost jobs too. Because, again, the white power structure. The white power structure. So when you got black businesses losing their job, when you got black businesses closing down, and there's so many black people unemployed, what can't you do? What can you do? What do you do at this point? And remember, most black people didn't come from generational wealth. Okay? We don't have generational wealth. Many black people didn't have 40 acres and a mule. So, what do you do? Now we can think in this modern time period that, hey, we can start our own business. You know what I'm saying? Now, it's not that easy, but, technology has made it where that people can get on YouTube and do YouTube videos, right? You know what I'm saying? Uh, uh people can start their own little small businesses online. Back in those time period, they didn't have no YouTube. They didn't have online businesses. Hell, they didn't even have computers. So what the hell was they supposed to do? What was they supposed to do? So you got to put yourself in Dr. King's shoes and many others. What would you have done? Would you really sacrifice yourself the way he did? No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. And I know you wouldn't, because most of y'all will be on the sideline. Most of y'all will be on the sideline, probably be scared as hell. Okay, well, let's look at Tulsa, Oklahoma. Guess what happened? What happened with Tulsa, Oklahoma? What happened with Tulsa, Oklahoma? What happened? Tulsa, Oklahoma, a lot of black businesses end up getting burnt down. All because some white woman hollered out she was raped. And many black businesses was burnt down. Many black people lost their business, lost their homes. So case in point, that what your statement right there exactly proving my point. Again, black people had to put their back against the wall. Now, we may not agree, we may not like it, but once you start to really stay up on the information of Dr. King and start listening to his speech more, and not just the I have a dream speech, and we're going to talk about that I have a dream speech later. But once you start really listening to Dr. King, you will see his whole purpose. He was really trying to do something for the working class community and for the poor people. He was really trying to get resources. He was trying to put up a fight for that. That's what he was trying to do. And then you gotta look on top of that. During that time period, the Vietnam War took place. And guess what they wanted to do? The government wanted more African Americans to fight in the Vietnam War. This is why you need to listen, bruh. Bruh, listen. Stop just typing shit and listen. Pay attention. Like, don't stop just typing random stuff, bruh. Talking about some, so we need to integrate out of fear of riots. In that time period, that's what they did. They felt like that was their solution. They felt like, hey, we might as well go ahead and integrate. I mean, you know what I'm saying? 1957, between 1957 and 1965, okay, versus 2024. There's a big gap. There's a big difference. Okay. There's a big difference. But again, everybody throwing Dr. King under the bus and without really understanding the initial purpose. Y'all just, oh, see, he was just a sellout. He was just a sellout. Now, there's some things that Dr. King needs to be criticized for. There's some things, okay? Because within these organizations, there has been mistreatment of Black women in particularly in these organizations. They have been mistreated. So there's some things that he need to be called out for on that level, as far as the mistreatment is concerned. But as far as like the initial purpose of trying to get the community organized and trying to make sure that Black people was able to get the right to vote and being able to have jobs and resources, I mean, he was headed on to that right direction. He just came up with the methodology that he thought that worked for him. Sekou Odinga came up with a methodology that he thought was going to work for him. He thought it was going to work to not only get Asad Shakur out of prison, right, but to stand up and do other fights in the community. Exactly, his other speeches. Yes. And see, what people got to look at when you, especially if you listen to the I Have a Dream speech, see, people get caught up with the I Have a Dream. That little white boys and white girls and Black boys and Black girls come together, yada, yada, yada. That's the part that people get caught up on. They not paying attention to the rest of the speech. They not realizing what the whole speech was really about. That speech was focusing on the discrimination against workers, particularly Black workers, right? And also focusing on police brutality. That's the reason why he made that dream I Have a Speech, because he was basically talking about police brutality and discrimination against workers. If you guys listen to the actual speech. And he talked about the evils in America. He talked about the two America. He also give his criticism about Vietnam War. Now remember, during that time period, you better not talk about Vietnam. Because if you made any type of criticism regard to the Vietnam, you was gonna be on the government hit list. the government was going to keep an eye on you. He wasn't the only. They wasn't. So Dr. Key wasn't the only one that the government kept a track on. Eartha Kitt. She spoke out against the Vietnam War. She spoke out when she went to the luncheon um, that Lyndon B. Johnson's wife had. Her name was Lady Bird. So Lady Bird was talking about gentrifying the community in New York and all. And she was also speaking about the Vietnam. Well, she was talking about gentrification and talking about how she wanted to, make Harlem beautiful and this, that, and the other, whoop de whoop de woo. And so Eartha Kitt brought up a question about the Vietnam War. She was like, because she said mostly young black men came to her and they were concerned, they were worried if they was gonna get shipped off into the war right after high school. So she started asking her questions, and Lyndon B. Johnson heard about that, and he came to her. He was like, "Wait a minute, what did you just ask? What about the Vietnam War?" So basically, she was blacklisted, and they ended up blackballing her. So she couldn't even find a job here in America. She couldn't find a job in America for a long period of time. She had to go overseas to look for work because she was blackballed just for asking questions about Vietnam War. So it was very detrimental as a black person to even speak out or stand up against the Vietnam War. You could not do that. It wasn't no time for you to say something about it. But many of them took the risk and they made it their business to do so. The land grant homestead speech. Yeah, it was so many speech that he done. Let me see. Somebody else. What's his name? Mike. He was trying to get what on to us. That's the real reason they killed. He was. He was. He was really putting himself in that predicament. But I have my theory as far as his death is concerned. Because I believe that there was other people that was involved in it too. The people that was in his circle, I believe that they was involved in it. So I don't think it's just the government itself that was just doing all the work. I also believe that there was some people in the circle that was involved. You know, see, everybody that's in your circle is not always down for the cause. Let's remember that. Everybody that's in your circle is not always down for the cause. Even what happened to Fred Hampton, we learned that the people that was in his circle, right, certain individuals, they weren't always down for the cause. We learned about what happened with Malcolm X. The people that was in his circle, right, certain individuals that was in Malcolm X's circle, they weren't down for the cause. They was plotting against Malcolm. There was people plotting against Fred Hampton, and there was people plotting against Martin Luther King. So let's not just say it was just the government in itself. It's also certain individual in that circle. So I mean, that's just my theory on that. That's my theory. So yeah. But y'all, we cannot just continuously disrespect those ancestors and constantly just throwing them under the bus because we don't agree with everything they have done. Now, do certain people deserve criticism for doing certain things? Absolutely. Now, is there certain things that we can point out that Dr. King have done that we don't agree? Absolutely. But at the same time, when it came down to the nonviolent protests and all of that, I mean, he felt like that was a solution for him, whether we like it or not. And then, hold on, let me put y'all on some game. Everybody that was marching with Dr. King, they didn't turn the other cheek. Everybody that was marching was not always practicing nonviolence. There was people who actually had weapons. There was people who was fighting back. There was people who was fighting back. Although Dr. King was using a nonviolent approach, there was people who said, forget all that, fuck all that. We gonna fight back. We gonna use weapon. Yeah, there were people that actually was doing so, that actually took the initiative and went beyond what Dr. King was preaching. You see? And then not to mention, he had different various organizations like the SNCC, which is the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. And then he also had SCLC, which is still around today, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. So he really put a lot in. He put a lot of work in. And also, I want to speak about Coretta Scott. A lot of so regarding to what's that individual's name? What's that man's name? Jonathan Major. So Jonathan Majors made a comment regarding to Megan Goods and compare her to Coretta Scott King. And so Coretta Scott King's daughter, Bernice King, she stepped in and basically said, my mother was not a prop. And I agree. She was not a prop. She was not a celebrity. She was a civil rights activist. She was not a celebrity. That was not her goal, to be a celebrity. She was a civil rights activist, just like her husband was. So to compare Megan Good to Coretta Scott King, that's really disrespectful because they're not the same. Megan Good is an actress. She a celebrity. Coretta Scott was a civil rights activist. And that was really fighting for a cause. Megan Good ain't fighting for no cause. Only thing she was doing was stand by her man, but she wasn't fighting for no cause for the people. Coretta Scott King was. She fought for a cause. So let's just get that part out the way. All right, then. So, anyways, you guys, I'm going to go ahead and log off of here. I just wanted to speak on that. So, anyways, you guys make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, share the channel, and I will keep y'all posted. So, until next time, be easy, be safe, peace, and power and elevation be to all of you. This your girl Tiffany, and I'm logging off. All right.